all these three things I'm talking about today will need to be practiced, but it's worth the investment because with those skills, your life gets so much easier and more intuitive, and you will create so much more flow. If you cannot see what the actual underlying cause of your fear is, you cannot overcome it, because pushing through it all the time will not create trust within yourself. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. It's already episode 11. I cannot believe it. I'm quite proud of myself, to be honest, that I finally found my rhythm with the podcast and that, we're doing this now on a weekly basis. So I hope you're all good wherever you are. I'm sitting in my living room right now. It's raining outside. I have a little cup of coffee here, and I just thought it's a perfect time to speak to you and record another episode. So today it's all about the 4 foundational elements of my healing journey that I feel are quite universal and that we can reuse and reuse and reuse no matter where we are at in our lives. And so I thought I'd just share them with you because they feel so powerful to me, and I use them on a very regular basis, if not every day. So here we go. Today we're going to talk about deep listening, feeling your emotions, and integration and downtime to let it all sink in. Yeah, just to give you a little preview. I've been reflecting a lot about my healing journey the last few weeks, just because I've been going through another deepening and transformation process, and it just felt so much more natural to do that with all the tools that I have at my hand and that I've used so many times now that they just feel so natural to me. And that's invaluable to me. And when I look at 10 years ago, I didn't have any of those tools. I did have some that I still use, to be honest, because I don't know how I came up with them, but sometimes you just have to be resourceful. Then it's fun. You can do the same and just look back a few years back, how you dealt with challenges, with issues, with fears or doubts and life changes, and see at how you handled that and what of those tools you're still using. Because sometimes they also come to us quite intuitively and we just try stuff out and it works for us. So I want to also invite you to remember when your intuition already worked. I think that exercise of going backwards in time is quite interesting and fun to see when have I used my intuition and it benefited me and I could trust it, because that helps you in the here and now to build deeper trust into your intuition. Because sometimes we don't remember all the things we've already been through, accomplished, found our way, navigated through. So I think it's always so worth it. That's what I do when I go through a challenge. I sit myself down in meditation and go back all the way through other challenges or whatever I'm going through, to create evidence of me and my capacity to handle this. Yeah, so that's what I can recommend to try out. Let's talk about deep listening. Deep listening is a practice that I feel like unconsciously I've always been doing, because already when I was a child, I would use music to process my emotions, and I felt always so understood by music. When I felt not understood by the world and by human beings, I felt understood in lyrics and harmonies and sounds and the moods that they transported. That always made me feel so safe and understood. So deep listening is something that I've been practicing very early on. And when I came across sound healing 7 years ago, that was such an interesting time in my life because I just needed a break from everything. And I went to Bali on this retreat of my roommate at the time that she gave there with a friend. And that friend of hers, she had like this bowl, this singing bowl. And, I didn't have any expectation, but it just changed my life completely to hear that sound and me knowing whatever that is, I need to learn that. So that was the start of my journey of connecting deeper to listening and active listening and listening to my body, to my inner parts, to the universe, to God more actively rather than just, there's a voice that tells me something. So deep listening is something that may start very subtle, but then the more you listen and the more you practice it, the deeper it gets and the more specific it also gets. Now, when I listen to my body, to the sensations that I'm feeling, to the sounds it's making or not making, to my inner parts and them through emotions tell me where I'm going right or wrong for myself. Yeah, where I'm overstepping my own boundaries, where other people overstep my boundaries, where I'm afraid to take risks, where I'm in my comfort zone, where I'm sad or lonely or excited and euphoric. Yeah, when we start listening inside, we can hear all these different little voices. As I'm saying that, I have to think of a forest with all those different birds singing in it. Yeah, the forest is also an ecosystem, just like us. It's an ecosystem where there are so many different parts present and play a role, and they all have different needs and different purposes and different roles, right? And imagine yourself like a forest and all those different voices inside that want to be satisfied, that have different feelings, but they also belong together and work together. And when we start deep listening, in the beginning, it may be a little confusing to what to listen to first or hearing something. But I promise you, when you practice this and you have patience with yourself and you do it again and again and again, no matter if you're hearing something or not, at some point you will 100% start hearing yourself, different parts of you, and maybe even a voice that is not within you, maybe even a voice that is the universe or a spirit guide or God or whatever resonates with you here. Yeah. So deep listening is really something that once we cultivate it within ourselves, it will make a difference to how we act and behave in our environment and with other people, in our business, in our job. You will create stronger and deeper relationships. You'll be able to have stronger emotional intelligence with people because you not only learn to listen to yourself, your body, mind, and spirit, you also then are so tuned into listening that you will be able to look at somebody, listen to them, but not just to their words. You will get the moods that they're in, the things that they're not saying, their body language. Yeah, you will get their energy. You will start to be able to read their energy. And that's really powerful. And obviously, I recommend you to use this for good and not to manipulate anybody. I just want to say that here as well, because it's very important that we are being genuine with our gifts. And when we learn something, I believe it's important to learn it for the greater good of everybody. So yeah, deeper listening is not just something that you do for yourself, but that also enriches all your relationships in the world. Like I said, not just at work, but also with your partner, with your family, with your friends, with your children, with anybody really, even with a stranger on the street. So yeah, I find deep listening is one of those soft skills that when you learn them, they are so potent and transformative in all areas of your life. So that is number one, deep listening. And that's not just essential on your healing journey. It's essential in your life with any challenge or any exciting thing that you're going through. Because you're going to be able to listen inside and realize, oh, what do I need right now? Even if you're going through something exciting, like you're moving or you're starting a new relationship or your business is going to the next level, that can also bring up fear and overwhelm. So it's good to tune inside and be with what is and listen instead of suppressing, because through this proactive process of listening to your emotions, physical sensations, and possibly any intuitive hints, that way you're so much better prepared. You're a step ahead and you're not suddenly getting burned out because you didn't realize that your body needs a massage or needs some rest, or that you're overwhelmed and you start pushing back because you're getting afraid and you're not feeling your emotions. Yeah, so actually deep listening, all those three things we're going to talk about today are actually supportive and proactive tools that keep your life in flow. Yeah, so it's not just for a certain healing journey, it's actually life tools that can help you every single day when you practice them. You know, in companies, they would call that a soft skill because it's very potent. And once you master these skills, they will support you in all areas of your life. All right, having said that, feeling your emotions is the second most foundational element or soft skill that I cultivated during my healing journeys. And there's a very truthful saying by Napoleon Hill: what you resist persists. And this couldn't be more true for your emotions, because when we're resisting to feel something that is already present within us, we don't make it go away. It's still there. We just choose to not feel it, look at it, and acknowledge it. I always see our emotions like little children. And why is that? I see them as little children because imagine a child is crying in front of you. You wouldn't just push it away. You wouldn't just walk away from it. You wouldn't just do anything harmful to stop it, right? You wouldn't scream at it and say, "Stop crying." I hope at least you wouldn't. And that's exactly the same thing for our inner parts that have emotions come up. And when we're not acknowledging them, the parts within ourselves, so I'm referring here to inner family systems or parts work, which I work with all the time with my clients, but I also use this in my own work with myself. And it's so powerful because you're creating a little bit of a distance to a part of you that is emotionally activated, but not in order to push it away, but to look at it and face it and wonder and ask it, how are you doing? What are you feeling? What is present right now? What do you need? And when we start feeling our emotions, it just takes a few seconds to actually feel through an emotion. So it's actually quicker to surrender to what we're feeling and feel it through than putting so much energy and effort in resisting what we're feeling, just because we learned at some point some story about, oh, when I feel my emotions, I'm weak, or I fall apart, or there's something wrong with feeling my emotions. It's too much, or whatever it is for you. I'm sure you have your own narrative around that. But once you overcome that narrative and you allow yourself to feel through your emotions whenever they come up, you're making space and you're actually freeing up energy that you've been using before to hold and suppress and avoid any emotional charge that you carry within you. That's why depression or anxiety have such a strong effect on our ability to act in the world. And not just to act in the world, but also to feel free within us. It's because we've accumulated so many emotions over a large period of time that we haven't processed and that are now held in our nervous system. Our nervous system is like a hard drive where you can save stuff on, and all those experiences, all those held or suppressed emotions are recorded on our nervous system. That's why learning how to feel your emotions, process and release is so essential in order to process what's there and not accumulate and build up over years. So this is the whole thing. That's why anxiety and panic and depression have such a strong and deep effect on us, on our mood, on our ability to live life, that take up so much of our energy to a degree where we either feel like we're frozen and we cannot move, or we have zero energy to be creative or take action for ourselves in the world. Or we may feel so anxious inside, so agitated, so chronically unsafe and afraid that this becomes our new resting position. And our nervous system now is in a state where we cannot be who we want to be, act in the ways that would make us happy. Because in that state, we need all our energy to essentially survive. I know that sounds dramatic, but that is what our system is most concerned with at that point. So feeling and releasing your emotions is not just a nice hippy-dippy thing that you can do on a Sunday afternoon. It's really essential to live a fulfilled and happy life. And in the beginning, it may take some time to sort of clear your channel from past pain, past held emotions. But once you get through that and you know how to process your emotions, it will become something second nature, just like brushing your teeth or washing your clothes and all these kind of things we do on a daily basis. And that's so beneficial for you. It doesn't always need to be an hour that you sit around and do breath work and cry or whatever it is. It is sometimes just a moment in the morning where you allow yourself, instead of stressing to get out of the door, you just allow yourself to sit there for a moment with this anxious feeling in your chest to get it all done or have it all together. Feel that and release it and walk through your day with less tension. And look, I know most of us are not purposely suppressing or holding their emotions. We just haven't really learned from an early stage on how to deal with emotions, how to handle them, how to process them. And so that's why this is something so important to me to share with the world and anybody who's interested to learn, because it may feel sometimes tricky to feel your emotions, especially in the beginning. It can feel painful and it can feel like a challenge that you want to run away from, but it is something that you just become friends with over time. Imagine you start working out and the first few days in the gym are a pain, right? Like your body aches, you sweat, you feel after 5 minutes you want to stop, but then you keep on going. Or you train for a marathon, like compare it to physical things. Because if you have a physical ailment and you have to go to the hospital, you're also not saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to deal with this another day. And it's time to take our emotional and mental health just as seriously as our body. It's just that we're living in a world where emotional processing is not something that we're speaking about freely, right? It's not something like, all right, oh yeah, yesterday I sat there and I cried because I just needed it and I feel so much better now. And somebody else says, I know, right? Like I really had to punch into a pillow yesterday because I was so angry, but I felt so liberated afterwards. Imagine we would have these conversations. People would turn around and be like, well, this crazy bunch over there. Yeah, but it's actually healthy to talk about it, because by not holding it in and by processing it, we're freeing up so much energy, so much creativity and life force that we can use to really feel joy and happy and flow in our life. This may sound really abstract for you, but I've experienced this on my own body. I've seen all my clients experience that, and it's just such an incredibly useful and essential tool when you learn the language of your emotions and how to feel and process them instead of being afraid of them. So usually what most people do is this. You start getting afraid, the fear is building up inside of you. I'm just using this as an example. The fear of feeling something is building up inside of you, and you're afraid of feeling the fear, or you're afraid of feeling the anger or the despair or the sadness or even the joy. So all that fear is building up inside of you. You're getting tense, your shoulders are standing up, you're getting neck pain, you're getting pain in your belly, your heart is racing, whatever it is for you. And then that's where you stop. That's often the time where your automated nervous system reaction comes on. So that could be fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So you may avoid, you may distract yourself, you may feel very triggered by the situation or whatsoever. But most people don't go for, all right, I'm going to feel through that feeling now. which is completely normal because most of us are not even aware that this is an option. Again, that's why I love, love, love to talk about this, because it is an option and it's the most beneficial one. All right, sometimes we need a little bit of space for us to actually, process on the mental pillar and then let ourselves go into the emotional space. Everybody's different with that. So that's why it's so interesting for yourself to figure out what sort of processor you are. But important is that you realize, oh, there are emotions, if I'm aware of them or not, that may need to be processed. So a good exercise to start off with is simply to go on Google, print out like this wheel of emotions, it's called. You can just put it into Google and print it out, put it on your wall, wherever you see it every day, and start naming your emotions. Because many of us are not in touch with the names of the emotions that we're feeling. Often you may just say, oh, I'm good, or I'm not so good. But what does that really mean? Be more specific. Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you anxious? Just by naming your emotions, you're already building a stronger connection to them and learning the language of your emotions, right? And that's the first step I would recommend. And then once you know the name of the emotion, try to localize it in your body. And then the third step could be to feel it. Allow yourself to feel it. Take a few deep breaths into that place in your body where you localize the emotion and feel through it. Yeah, and these 3 steps are already plenty to practice with. One thing that I've noticed is that many people think they're feeling and processing through their emotions, but they're actually thinking through the emotions. So there's an actual difference between the two, thinking and feeling. Yeah, and you need both to release a held emotion in your system. So thinking about your emotions and what you feel and naming them is a good start. And then it's also important to actually feel through it. And you can recognize that you feel through something when you have a physical sensation, because emotion, energy in motion, creates a sensation in your body as well. And when we're not aware of our emotions, so when we're not actively taking time to sit with them and process them, there may be an unconscious reaction, right? So you may try to numb yourself with food or drugs or, cigarettes, alcohol, sex, whatever it is. Everybody has a different coping strategy, right? But it's interesting to just ask yourself, what do I usually do when I'm stressed? What is the unconscious thing that I'm doing, right? Because once you find that out, you can be more aware of it next time and notice what you do in those situations. And possibly even replace that old behavior with a new strategy that feels more beneficial to you. If we don't stop at the fear of feeling the feeling, but actually process through that fear of feeling the feeling, we get to the actual feeling that we need to process. And that can give us clues on where we want to go next, our direction in a decision, in a situation, in, a business decision, whatever it is for you at that moment. But stepping through the fear, feeling through the fear, and then actually getting to the actual emotion that you need to process and not just get stuck at the fear before actually feeling what you need to feel, then you get so much wisdom on the other side. It's incredible. Because sometimes it doesn't need to be a negative situation that you go through and realize, oh, I felt abandoned or rejected or whatever. Sometimes it's a positive thing that you're going through, like you're growing your business or you get an opportunity, but you're saying no to those things because you're afraid of something. But if you only stop at the fear and then respond with your unconscious coping mechanism, then you may lean towards not going for the opportunity, not understanding why you're depressed or sad, but feeling through a feeling actually helps you understand on a deeper level what is going on with me right now. And you need that information to make a wise and well-informed decision. So here we have it. Feeling your feelings is a really mature adult way of living. I'm going to give you a practical example here. Imagine you're starting a restaurant. You need to budget for the chairs, for the kitchen equipment, for the groceries, for all those things, right? Employees and so on. And if you do not budget all those things, you cannot make an educated decision whether it's worth it to start the business and take the risk or not. Same thing with your emotional processing. If you don't process your emotions and realize what you're afraid of or what you're trying to avoid or whatever it is for you, you cannot make educated decisions. Simple as that. And more than that, you will always be at the mercy of your fear, at the mercy of your sadness, of your depression, of your anxiety. Because processing is the way, the feeling through is the way to actually release and move forward. If you cannot see what the actual underlying cause of your fear is, you cannot overcome it. Because pushing through it all the time will not create trust within yourself. That will create dissonance with your inner parts, and they will feel sick and tired of you forcing yourself through things. But when you just take a few minutes and sit with your emotions and understand what is actually going on below, that's powerful. And that creates union within yourself. That creates trust within yourself. And that catapults you forward and doesn't hold you back. So I'm going to give you another example. Imagine you're having an argument with your partner. Either they didn't pick you up, or they are late, or somebody didn't do the dishes, one of those very simple things. And you're annoyed, you may not talk to them, you may feel angry and a little passive, and you're not actually telling them what's going on. And then they're trying to, hey, so, should we have dinner? And you're like, oh, you just don't get me. You're never doing what I need you to do. You just ignore me. You don't get it. But if you would sit with your anger in that moment and feel through it, there may be that realization that you don't feel seen or you don't feel supported or acknowledged. And that little act of not cleaning the house or being too late or whatever makes you explode or gets you emotionally activated, because this is your emotions showing you the need that is not being met by your partner. And then when you find out about that and you tell them, look, it's okay that you're late, but for me, that makes me feel like you don't appreciate my time and energy, like I'm not important enough to you to show up on time, or whatever it is. And when you can communicate that and say, look, I wish you would be on time, because for me it's really important to feel supported and acknowledged by you. And this is one of the little things that would make me feel so appreciated by you. Do you think this is something you could do for me? Yeah, if you let them in on what your fears and underlying needs are, they may not know that. They may think, just 5 minutes. Yeah, but if maybe you grew up in a way where you were never prioritized, those 5 minutes may mean a lot to you. Or you may even feel that through and realize, it's just 5 minutes. They still love me. They just have been like this before me, and they are just always 5 minutes late, and it's not personal. It's not about me. Yeah, so whatever that realization could be for you, you would never know, and you would never be able to have that dialogue in like a kind and open-hearted way, because you don't even realize your own need if you don't feel through your emotions to get there, right? And that's just a very simple example, which you may naturally understand yourself. But then when it comes to more complex situations where you don't understand your feelings and the need, that's when it's getting really important to sit with yourself and realize, feel through first. Always feel through first. Realizations come in the aftermath. But this skill, That led me to so many breakthroughs in all areas of my life. Just the act of sitting with my feelings. And again, this is something you will have to practice. All these 3 things I'm talking about today will need to be practiced. But it's worth the investment because with those skills, your life gets so much easier and more intuitive, and you will create so much more flow through those skills. So investing in yourself and practicing them makes so much sense, even financially, if this is your concern. Literally, in business, these tools, these soft skills are essential. And they put you on a completely different level than people who don't have those skills. All right, so feeling your feelings. And again, this may be something that will take some time to learn. It's not a thinking process, it's a sensational, emotional process you cannot think your way through. And if you need help with that, come join one of our breathwork group sessions, which will connect you to your emotions and you'll understand what I mean with feeling your feelings. Or if you need more personalized support, reach out to me for one-on-one somatic therapy. All right, let's get to the third foundational element, which is integration, or we could also call it downtime to let it all sink in. Because when you start listening to your body, to your mind, to your inner parts, to the universe, sooner or later you will receive information about yourself. Yeah, so let's say you're listening to your body. You notice your belly really aches. There's like something in your belly. All right. Second step, you're feeling it. You're feeling your belly and you notice, there's so much shame that I'm feeling. So much shame in my belly. Okay, let's breathe, let's feel. And once you feel it through, and maybe there were tears or maybe not, but once you feel it through and you felt through that shame or that pain that sits there, and you had the realization that, whenever I have to speak in public, I'm getting so afraid that somebody judges me. Why do I feel so afraid that somebody judges me? This is such a deep, old pain that I feel in my belly. And then you go deeper into the feeling, and you feel a part of yourself that is 10 years old. And they had to give a presentation at school. And you were laughed about because you wore your shirt inside out. And all the classmates were laughing. And it wasn't that your presentation was bad, you realize suddenly. It was all along about your t-shirt. And you realize, I'm not a bad speaker. I just had my t-shirt the wrong way around. And I felt so much shame for 25 years. Yeah, obviously this is just an example. It's not a personal example. It just came to me. And then you breathe through that shame and you realize, suddenly after feeling that through, there is release, there is liberation. And you're like, oh, wow, that was big, although it was just this little thing. And I never realized, and I held onto that for 25 years. Whew. And then you live your life, you go ahead, and then it's time to integrate, right? So then it's time to, okay, this was a lot. This was a lot of emotions. Let's take a walk. Let's, the next week be gentle to ourselves. Integrate that I'm not a bad speaker, that I'm not a bad person, that people don't laugh about me. And now I need to take action. So integration means to let things settle in the body, but also in the second step, it means taking action, practical action in this world, in the reality. So that then whatever you were afraid of and felt through, that then there is real life evidence that you can overcome your fear and be a little more of yourself. So then the next time you go on stage and have to speak, you're like feeling suddenly lighter. You're feeling more confident. You're a little less afraid to look people in the eye while you're telling your story. You're even having a laugh. Yeah. This is a very gentle and simple example. Let's go for another one. When you're going through a bigger time of healing, and let's say, you're going through a deep time of transformation, you're doing weekly therapy sessions or healing sessions of any kind, you're digging deep, a lot of emotions are coming up for you, and you're working through it. It's powerful, it feels like a grieving process, it's emotional. And then there will come a time when you feel like, oof, okay, all right, I think I'm going to need a little bit of integration time here. So what does that mean? There's a time when we're learning, when we're digging deep, when we're doing the work, and it feels nourishing and powerful and even a lot, right? It can feel a lot, and it can feel like a grieving process. And then there's a subtle difference when maybe you're just, watching another YouTube video, reading another book, or whatever it is, out of a sense maybe of neediness or wanting to get somewhere. And that's when you know, all right, now it's time to close the book, turn off the laptop, not take in more right now, but just unwind. Just letting yourself be human for a bit. And maybe spend some time with your friends, go on a holiday, draw, paint, ride a bike, live normal life for a while. Take walks, go for sports stuff, like go have nice dinners, whatever it is that helps you feel connected to the world. Because that's important, this grounding time, you could also call it, to step back into the world again and live your human life. Because you may have had a lot of energetic releases, emotional releases, mental realizations, letting go and releasing old behavior patterns or thought patterns. And that happens all in this container of your therapy space or your healing space or the comfort of your home. But then it's also important to let this go for a bit and come up for air. Because when you're diving deep into the depth of the ocean, of your own ocean, you need to come up for air sometimes. You need to let the sun kiss your face, take a few deep breaths, come back to yourself before you dig back in. And that's sometimes something that people in the psychedelic space don't really follow. I don't want to generalize, but I've seen people go to ayahuasca journeys once a month or every second week or even every 3 months, and they don't give themselves enough time to integrate what they've learned. Maybe they haven't even learned to understand the language of those plant medicines. And something that I've learned is that sometimes integration time is longer than you expect it to be. And this is also a question of respect and boundaries with yourself, with your inner process, to give yourself the space to learn slowly to integrate into your body all those energetic, emotional, and mental lessons and changes. That may even mean that your body may ache sometimes, physically. And obviously, disclaimer here, if you have any health issues or you think you do, go to a doctor and get a checkup. And also, it can be sometimes that you get a cold or a headache or heart racing as like a byproduct of an integration process, or hot and cold feelings, or a little bit of a shivering or something like that. It can all be part of your body integrating those energetic changes. It would also be good to go to a chiropractor or an osteopath. Yeah, because sometimes when you have lots of energetic and emotional changes, that your body feels like you were run over by a bus. Yeah, and then it's good to have that physical adjustment as well. So what I'm saying is that, sometimes we have this need to go on and be more and go deeper. And we're not allowing that integration process to happen in the time that it needs to happen. Yeah. And so when you feel this sort of needy feeling come up of like, I need another session of this or that, or another tarot session or another psychic reading or whatever, there's a difference between feeling intuitively, oh, now it makes sense, or oh, that would really help me in this situation, and having done lots of these kind of things within a shorter amount of time and just having the need for certainty and an answer. So if this comes up for you, you may realize that you have a need for certainty or a difficulty in letting go of control and trusting your process. So then this is what you could look at. Your relationship to patience, your relationship to control, because this could help you in realizing and accepting that you've done enough for now so that you can allow the integration to happen in its own time. Because sometimes, especially in the self-development and spirituality space, I feel like this space has grown to a place where we act like athletes, where we feel like, okay, I need to do more, I need to get better, I need to improve this and that until I'm worthy and accepted. So we're not actually acting out of love and self-acceptance and the desire to live a more free and fulfilled life. We're acting out of the same reason anybody else acts, from fear, where we're trying to not be more ourselves by digging deeper. No, we're trying to be better. We're trying to be someone else. And this is not the purpose of this work. The purpose of looking inside is to accept who you are and acknowledge your qualities, your gifts, even the things that you've done that you're not proud of. Some may call that your shadows. The things you've done wrong to others or to yourself, or your shame or painful things that you avoid, suppress, memories and experiences that have been hard for you in the past. We're looking at those things not to say, oh, I need to change and I need to get better. No. We're looking at them to process the held emotions and for you to see why you've done what you've done, why you held back what you held back, in order to accept more of who you are. With every little time you engage, accepting a little more of yourself. And I've been there too. I fell into that self-improvement hole as well. Oh, I need to get better. Oh, just this one more thing I need to get rid of, quote unquote, or improve. Then I will be accepted. Then I will accept myself. And you know what? At some point I heard that voice inside of me that said, but you're already whole. You've already arrived, Vanessa. You're already here. And that was the moment where I could actually relax. And that is the moment I wish for everybody. That like very clear voice inside of you realizing and saying to you, where are you wanting to go? Why are you still running? You're already here. You've already arrived. And yes, there will be challenges. And yes, you get to learn more about yourself. Don't worry. But you also are acceptable the way you are right now. And that's why this integration time is so essential. I cannot emphasize this enough. When I allow myself downtime from healing work, self-development work, this is so essential. It's just as essential as doing the active work, because all those realizations trickle in the integration process. All those realizations of, oh, I'm actually enough, or oh, I should have boundaries with those people because I accept them, but maybe I don't need to. All those realizations, and I could give you a million examples now. You have your own examples for yourself that you may be thinking of right now. But all those realizations trickle in when we have downtime, when we're not focusing constantly on solving something inside. There is this time for active work and there is this time for passive work. So I really want to emphasize on this. Please allow yourself to integrate. Take your time. There is no rush. You will never be behind in life. There is nobody who is running in front of you. And if you think that, that is something to look at. That fear is something to feel through. Because when you do, you will realize you're only in competition with yourself. And I'm not even a big fan of calling it competition with yourself at all. But there's so many of us who feel behind in life. And I just want to let you know you're not. You're never behind. You're never behind. You're always, and that's so cheesy. I know, I realize that. But once you realize that this is the truth, it is not cheesy anymore. It's so essential to know. Like with all those quotes and things. When you get to the moment of realizing that, oh, that's so true, you understand it from a much deeper way. And then you notice, oof, that's actually not cheesy at all. It's actually truth. So you're always in the right place where you need to be, even if the place really sucks. Trust me, I have been in places that I wish I had never had to go through, but I did. And I came out the other side. And from being in a good place right now, I can say that I'm glad I had those times. They gave me so much wisdom, so much depth, so much knowledge about myself and the world, and I feel like they made me a better person. So these are my 3 essential tools that are so flexible and can mean so many things for each of you. Deep listening, feeling your emotions, and integration. That can look so different for all of us, and I want you to make this your own. And with these 3 pillars, you can go and play around. Deep listening can be learned through so many different ways. You walk in the forest and start listening to the different birds and try to make out all the different sounds of the wind and the leaves and the animals. Deep listening can also be practiced in a sound bath. It can be practiced by listening to people talk and acknowledge the different voices and the different moods and what is not being said. Feeling your feelings can be practiced by meditation, connecting to your body, doing breath work, sharing with a friend or a loved one, connecting, maybe hugging each other, opening up to each other, singing, dancing, and integration as well. There are so many ways, and I invite you to find those that really resonate with you. Okay? Let's all take a deep breath together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. You can also use that as a journaling opportunity to journal out, hey, what are ways that feel good for me to listen deeply in order to connect to my body, to my inner parts, to the universe? What are ways for me to feel my feelings that I want to try out or feel drawn to? And what would feel good as integration? Maybe I get a massage, I take a weekend off and go to the beach. Whatever it is for you, make it your own, okay? Feel free to share any comments, any thoughts, any ideas with me you have about this topic. If you're listening on YouTube, share them in the comments below. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, feel free to reach out to me via DM on Instagram, vanessa.decodewithsound. And that's it from me today. I hope you're good. I send you so much love. Take good care. Until next time.